That's Peggy and Abby and Trudy. And that's Joanne and Mac and Eileen and Abby playing Ring Around the Rosie. This was taken in Hyattsville back in about the late 40s or the early 50s. That's Joanne on the swing and Mac on the swing. There's Peggy being pushed by Trudy. And there's Abby. And there's Mac. Trudy was the big sister. That's Eileen getting ready to stand up, show off. Here comes baby Peggy. Here comes Mac on his little tractor. They're going to give baby Peggy a ride in the doll carriage. Peggy doesn't think much of it. And there's Joanne again. Peggy had just learned how to walk, and she still would hold her hands up in the air like somebody was holding her. Action by Joanne and Mac. Here they go on their bikes. Trudy riding Peggy. Eileen. Evie in her tricycle. Mac and Joanne running around the swimming pool. That's baby Johnny. This was taken down at Mayo Beach. He was about 6 or 7 months old. He was a fat little somebody. That's Kathy playing with Johnny. That's Marty and I think that's Miriam on the swing. Marty and Miriam swinging. Mac doing the pushing. Here comes Kathy. Big smile from Kathy. There's Evie on the merry-go-round. The swing-around, I guess they called it. That's Marty along with her. That's either Miriam or Carol, I'm not sure. It's Marty coming down the slide, down the steps of the slide. This is a terrible picture because the camera I had then was an old wind-up Bell and Howell camera, and it didn't have any kind of light control on it. There's our gang in the water at Mayo Beach. That's Marty right there. That's Trudy and either Miriam or Carol. There's Joanne. That's Evie and Joanne. Here they come down. Splash. Here comes Marty. That's Marty. Mac wouldn't get his face wet for a long time. He finally got used to it there. Here we are, getting ready to go to Grandmom's house on Easter Sunday. That's a old 1957 Plymouth station wagon that I had. Used to haul the whole gang, though. It was a big car. That's my sister Pete. She's the one that gave me the camera. That's Johnny. There's Grandma with her ducks. I think that baby is Carol. Yeah, she used to love that baba. Grandma watering the ducks. Gonna put them in and take a bath. I think the biggest girl there must be either Chrissy or Kathy. Probably Chrissy. The girl with the shorts on is Joanne. And there's Kathy again. Hi, Kathy. Grandmom and Uncle Roy. Getting ready to go back home now. comes your mom. Let's see, who's that she's carrying? Either Miriam or Mary. I'm pretty sure it's Miriam. Yep, that's her. This is back in Lanham again. There's Eileen running around the house. This was taken at Janet's pool. She lived in Laurel, and she was a hairdresser, and she was a friend of your mom's. Here comes Grandma carrying one of the new babies. There's our old Woody station wagon. That was a 51 Chevy. That's Grandpap carrying baby Marty. He came down from Pittsburgh right after Marty was born. Grandpap Peters. And that's his girlfriend. Her name was Vi Taylor. And there's your mama giving baby Marty a ride on the swing. Baby Peggy, Big Trudy, that's Abby and Mac. And Peggy again with Grandpap. That's Joanne. There's Eileen gonna swing on the rings. Vi Taylor pushing Abby. There's Mom holding Marty. Your pretty mama. She says, why are you taking my picture and not the baby's? Close up of Peggy and Grandpap. There's baby Jimmy. Just learned how to walk. Whoops. The little girl is Miriam. And that girl back there, I think, is Mary. Those two girls are Mary and Miriam. And that's old Jimmy coming up to get a close-up. Hi, Jimmy. Boom. Chrissy, Kathy, and Miriam. There's Miriam and Jimmy. Now that might be Chrissy and Jimmy. This was taken later on the same year after it got a little cold. Jimmy's going to come up for a close-up. There's Miriam and Carol and Mac. And Brother Jimmy. I don't know who that old geezer is. Must be somebody that wandered in off the street. Here's old Rusty. Rusty and Jimmy. Rusty's loving him up. Ring around the rosy, Jimmy. Let's see, who is this? Turn around, kiddo. I think that's Mary. And that was Chrissy and Marty. That's Chrissy. That's Marty. That's Carol. That's Miriam. That's Kathy. That's Miriam again. Johnny. Little Johnny. Baby Mary. Is Mac trying to teach Mary how to walk? Here she comes a-crawling down the hall. That's Johnny, and Miriam, and Carol. And now they're going to do Ring Around the Rosie. And that's Mary in the middle, I guess. Big girl is Peggy. Here's another baby. I'm pretty sure that's baby Jimmy and his godmother. And there's his godfather. Their name was Daly, was their last name. And there's Father Aliata. He did the baptizing. And some of those kids belong to the Dalys. That one. There's Johnny after he broke his leg. Still had it in a cast. It's Mary, baby Mary. That must be Jimmy. Yeah, that's Jimmy. In the peanut shell. Too much light that day. And Johnny was still in the cast, and looks like Carol, Miriam, Kathy, and Chrissy. Let's see who that is now. That's Mary, and so that must be Mary again. She didn't have much hair yet. Whoops. This was in Lanham. We had that old wading pool in the front yard. That's Mary learning how to walk. Whoops. That's Eileen holding her. Trudy just picked her up. That's Miriam, Mary, Carol, Trudy, and Joanne. Here comes the bike group. Eileen, Joanne, Mac. Eileen showing off. Trudy's in the pool, Joanne's in the pool, Marty's in the pool, Mac, the big girls are Trudy, Eileen, and Joanne. There's Marty, and that's baby. That's baby Carol. There's Marty. There's Carol and Miriam. This was taken down at Breezy Point. That's Perone's cottage in the background. Here's baby Mary. There's Miriam. That's Carol. That's the porch to the cottage where we used to sit out there and eat supper. Plenty of chairs to go around. That's Brother Mac coming home from the beach. And there's the whole gang down on the beach. That's Joanne holding Jimmy while he walks. Sun was too bright that day. That's Mom and Joanne and Jimmy and Mary and Miriam and Mac and Carol. There's Miriam, Carol, Johnny, Jimmy, baby Jimmy. That's little Miriam playing in the sand. Here she comes up the beach. Let's see, I think that was a 50, no, it was a 1960 Chevy station wagon. We were on the way to Grandma's for Easter. Seemed like we went there every Easter Sunday. That's going along the Beltway. That was on Grandma's TV when we got there. Ooh, ooh. There's Abby. There's Chrissy, Kathy, Eileen. That was Peggy behind her. Let's see who that is. That's Mary. No, that's Miriam. Mac all dolled up. Mac's holding Mary's hand. There's Joanne. Here comes Mom carrying Jimmy. That's Grandmom, and that's Alfred Speaks behind her. He was the son of my sister Anna. There's Uncle Roy. We're going back home. One more last, well, that's taken Atlanta. That was after we got home. There's all the girls. This is Eileen and her date for her high school prom. There's Mary, all dressed up for First Communion. No, that's Mary. So check out the flowers. There's baby Jimmy and his playpen. There he is outside with Johnny. That was Jimmy before he started walking. He was crawling around on the grass out in the backyard. Uh-oh, what's that? Subpoena. Crawled like an infantryman, sneaking up on the enemy. That's Mary. That's Miriam. This was down at Breezy Point. I think that was still with the old camera. And here comes Jimmy, running by himself. There goes Mary. There goes Jimmy. Here comes Jimmy back again. Here comes Mary. Bright sunny day out on the water. That's Mac diving. I think that was Marty. That's our girls on the float out offshore of Breezy Point. We had fun in those days. Here's little Jimmy. Max got him by the hand. That's your mama's head, and you can see that was after I started dyeing her hair for her. That's Skippy Rasmussen and Mary playing in the sand at Breezy Point. There's Mama sitting on the beach. That's Mrs. Rasmussen. Anybody getting bored yet? I don't know who this old geezer is, but he's got a hold of Jimmy. Snack bar at Breezy Point. Snack bar and bathhouse combination. There's little Jimmy in front of Perone's cottage. There's Mary. They were singing some kind of song where they waved their arms like that. This is down on the beach, and I think that's when they buried Father Downs in the sand. Yeah, there's his head sticking up. Close up of his head. He used to be a big clown whenever he came down there. He loved to play with you kids. Got him all covered up again. There he is. He's going to arise from the sand. This is really good, isn't it? Like I said, that old camera didn't have any kind of a light control on it. There's Carol. Sometimes the film would get stuck and I'd have to open the camera up and expose it in order to get it going again. There's Marty and Jimmy. I guess that was Johnny. Wish I could fast forward this, but I can't because I'm sitting too far away from it to see what's going on. You can fast forward through it though. Just hit that button. That must have been Jimmy and Mary's favorite sport, running up and down the beach. It was terrible, terrible camera. A little later on, I started using a brand new one that your mom bought me for Christmas one year. It had a battery-operated motor in it instead of a wind-up like this thing. Come on, get this over with. There we go. Oh boy, another Easter at Grandma's. Your mom made all those pink dresses. She bought the material and cut them to the right size and sewed them all up for the little girls. She was good with that sewing machine. There's little Jimmy all dressed up. He's going to come up and gripe about something. And leave me alone, he said. Oh, he got over it. He's okay now. He's going to sing me a little song. Happy Jimmy. There's Miriam behind him. Miriam. It's Chrissy, Johnny. These were the apartments they built right behind Grandma's farm. Easter parade. Max strutting down the road. This is a very boring scene of Breezy Point, taken from the Goods cottage front porch. Boring, boring. I was probably trying to check out the camera when I took that. There's Hanko's house with the flag in the backyard, side yard, I guess. Look real close, you can see the water beyond those trees. This is the gang coming home from a walk at Breezy Point. We were at Goods Cottage. Everybody was tired, including Mom. Okay, we got Jimmy, Carol, Mary, Jimmy again. Wave the flag, Jimmy. Must have been 4th of July. Mary's turn. There's Miriam and Chrissy. Here comes little Joe Pantuso in his striped shorts and hat. Hello, Joey. He came to visit us with his mom and dad while we were at Breezy Point one year. This is the gang getting ready for the 4th of July parade at Breezy Point. They used to have one every year. I guess maybe they still do. That's Mr. Lewis, who lived across the street from Perone's cottage. He used to decorate his bike and ride it in the parade every year. Here comes the parade. I think that's Mr. Stedman with the baton twirling. There's some of our gang. Trucking on down to the private beach. No, there's Marty running the old rowboat I had. Had a 7.5 horsepower Elgin motor on it down at Breezy Point. Out on the bay. Isn't that interesting? There's Jimmy. There's Johnny. And Marty. Marty's the captain. That's probably some boat out there if you could make it out. Here we are coming back into the inlet at Breezy Point. Breezy Point was on the right. Plum Point was on the left. There's us eating supper at one of the picnic benches. Boy, that camera was terrible. That's your mom on the right. There she is. Let's see who this baby is. I think it's Alan Dean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Alan Dean. There's that old Breezy Point view again. Boring, boring, boring. That's little Mary. Or is it Miriam? That's Jimmy. So that must have been Mary. There's Miriam. Cutie Pie. There's Jimmy and Miriam. That was taken at Good's Cottage too. They had a for sale sign on it. It looks like Miriam. There's Mrs. Hanko. baby Jimmy. His mom and Mrs. Hanko and baby Jimmy. That was Mrs. Fry. And the little girl is Miriam, or and there's Marty and Mom and Mrs. Hanko. No, that's Jimmy. Excuse me, that's Jimmy. Everybody looked alike when they were little. There's that old geezer again, holding Jimmy. Splash. I asked Mac to hold the camera for me, and that's what he did. Well, here we go to Grandma's house again. It must have been Easter Sunday. There's Mom. I don't know who that guy is. He turns up every once in a while. UFO got him. Here we are at Grandma's house in the 1960 Chevy station wagon. Everybody's dolled up for Easter. Last one in is Joanne. Roy's old truck. That's the Beltway. This is coming down Lanham 7 Road to our house in Lanham. And we're getting ready to turn into forget the name of that street now, but that's 4th Street. There's our house at Cape Cod. That was a good house, built by Johnny Berglund. There's my old green GMC truck. There's Johnny. Yeah. Mom trying to hide behind the flowers. There's Kathy. Oh, Rusty. Yum, yum, give you a kiss. Boring. Ah, there we are. That's Jimmy grown up a little bit. And there's Alan, Dean, and Mom holding on to him. It's Johnny's magic show. Magic cards. That's Chrissy. And there she is. Must be Easter again down at the farm. Mom made all those shawls for the girls. There's the old tractor that I still have. And Uncle Roy gave me. And Grandma. I think that girl with Grandma was Peggy. There's Uncle Roy. There's Mom. Harry on the tractor. That's the Beltway. Back then there was very few cars on it. Here we are back home again. There's Evie and Mac and Peggy. and Johnny and Mary. That's Kreuzberg's house next door to us when we lived in Atlanta. Here comes Rusty. This is riding down to Hillsmere Shores where we had a lot. That's the South River straight ahead. The mouth of the South River. That's the community beach at Hillsmere Shores, and they had that pavilion for people who wanted to have a picnic. And that's Bill and Mary Bradford. We took them down there to see it. There's the old South River going into Duval Creek. That's the South River where Trudy and Roy used to live in Cape Lock Haven. There's Jimmy and Alan. There's Mary and Mike Dean. Hello, Mike. This was Jimmy's first communion. Tried to take pictures of it in the church, St. Matthias, and it was awful dark in there. But that's him right there. Here comes Jimmy and Mary. Hi. There's Mom getting dinner ready down at Breezy Point. That's Mary. That's Marge. That's Jimmy. That's the entrance gate at Breezy Point. I think that's Kathy walking back from the beach. Yeah, that's her. It would have been nice to have a filter. That's the main gate at Breezy Point. Here comes Jimmy and Mary back from the 4th of July parade. And there's the parade. There's Carol and Miriam. There's Johnny on the back of that car. There's Mr. Stedman again, and Mr. and Mrs. Hanko were with him. And there's Mr. Lewis. This was either Alan or Michael's birthday party at Lock Haven. That's Mrs. Dean, Roy's mom. Must have been Michael's birthday. He's the one blowing out the candles. There's Johnny holding Joey Pantuso and swinging down at Lock Haven. Here comes Michael. That's Michael, just got up. There's Alan. This was taken from Dr. Ferris's house. There's Jimmy and Michael and Mom. Dr. Ferris lived right across the street from Trudy and Roy. At least he had a cottage there. There's Johnny, and Peggy, and Alan going down the slide. There's Michael. That's little Joey Pantuso. There's Joey Pantuso. I don't know who the leg belonged to. Must have been somebody's birthday. Probably Joey's. Joey got a sleeping bag. There's Michael. I guess that was his second birthday. 2 years old. There's Trudy. Now that must have been, that's Michael bouncing. I don't know who the little kid was she was holding. There's Johnny and Evie and Mrs. Dean and some of our kids. That's Michael bouncing on that thing, Michael, and Alan. Alan's the one in the blue sweater. That might be Joe Pantuso again, I'm not sure. That's Mom handing him whatever it was he dropped. Hi, Alan. microwaving. There's Trudy and Eileen feeding their face. There's John Pantuso with sideburns like Elvis. They like Eileen's blonde hair. It looks like baby Joe Pantuso too. There's Jimmy. This was all taken down at Cape Lock Haven. It might be Magruder Park in Hyattsville, I'm not sure. Fast forward. Boring, boring. That was our front window in Atlanta for a minute. Here comes Stephen B. English. Can hardly make it out. The light was so strong it was reflecting off of his face. But that's Evie walking him down the hallway in Atlanta. Stevie. Stevie B. He was the first one to call me Pop Pop. It's a boat on a trailer in the yard in Lanham. See who that must be Stevie still. Yeah, that's him. There's old Bilbo, a dog. And that's Stevie with his daddy, Tom. Must have been early spring, see the forsythia just coming out. Whoop. There's Steve and Tom. I think the big girl was Kathy. There's Abby. Boring, boring. You can fast forward plenty of times. Oh boy. This was taken off of the boat down in Hillsmere. When the boat was at Hillsmere Shore. It was right around Thomas Point Lighthouse. And those are big ships waiting to get into Baltimore Harbor. This is very boring too. Thomas Point Lighthouse, I'm pretty sure. That's the wake kicked up by the boat. Boring, boring. There's Jimmy. He was running the boat that day. We're heading towards the Bay Bridge. Bouncy, bouncy. Getting closer to the bridge. Now we're getting ready to go under. There we go. We're going under the Bay Bridge. There's old Alan Dean. There's Jimmy riding his bike. Lanham. There's Mike and Alan. There's Roy. Getting ready to leave to go home. That's Eileen. That's her Volkswagen sitting there. That's Alan's sticking out of the back window of their station wagon. Seabrook Shopping Center. Jimmy and Mike. There's Alan. There goes Trudy. And there they are, taking off for home. There's my old greeny truck. That was our backyard in Atlanta. That was Richter's house across 94th Avenue. That was Murphy's house, and Heflin's house, and Lively's house. There's Mac when he lived in West Virginia, in Sandridge, West Virginia, getting ready to go to work. As Johnny would say, fixing to go to work. That was his road out of his house. Had to kind of run through a little creek. There's Jennifer when she was a baby, and there's Chrissy and Sean. Fat Jennifer. Fat baby Jennifer. And that's her mama, Diana. There's Carrie when she was a baby, and that's Kathy holding her. Carrie was the bye-bye baby. She used to wave bye-bye every time she got a chance. And there's old Rusty in the background. Carrie gonna go visit with Rusty. Changed her mind. Bye-bye, Carrie. There's Peggy holding her. Bye-bye. There's Kathy, sitting by my old rowboat. She's mad about something. There's Carrie with Peggy. Upside down, kids. Face forward. There's our boat. Old Philos. Going out of the creek at out of Battle Creek. I was in a rowboat taking movies with the camera, and Jimmy was running the boat. He was only like 14 or 15. Zooming right along. This gets kind of boring too. But I often wondered what it looked like going out on the water. So I decided to find out. Take movies of it. That's a nice boat. Still is. where I told him to open it up. See what I mean about boring? It was fun though. The only thing was that it rocked the rowboat so bad. Hard to take a steady picture. And this was coming back into our pier. That's the community pier right there. That's Martell's. That's our pier. See all the trees that used to be down around that pier? That was the other side of the creek, and that last shot was like going up to Battle Creek Cypress Swamp. Fast forward. Oh, Ziggy Pie. He was the best dog I ever had. That's when the back porch was in good shape. There's old Philo's back on the trailer. That's the way it used to look. There's Stevie B and his daddy Tom. And there's Evie and Vicky. No, I guess that's Johnny. Yeah, that's who that was. That was Johnny. I don't have any pictures of Vicky. Evie and John. And Tom. And Ziggy. That's Mac's house in West Virginia when he lived in Sand Ridge. Eileen took these pictures with my camera. She went up there to see baby Jennifer and took my camera along. This gets kind of boring too. All woods. Rugged country. That's hill country. Reminds you of Pittsburgh, so many hills. Boring. It's the road to nowhere. There's Mac's outhouse. Let's see, that's baby Jamie, Miriam's Jamie. And there's Nick. And that's one of Carol's babies. I don't recall which one. Probably Katie. Yeah, it's probably Katie. And there's Amanda, I think. And there's Miriam in shorts. There's baby Jamie. Elliot. There's Amanda and Nick. And Jamie walking over to him. I think this must have been a Christmas party. Somebody just arrived. Let's see who it was. Here's Roy. Alan. It looks like Brian. I think that little girl with the ponytail is Kelly. Yeah. It's Trudy. It's Carol with one of her little girls. This was at Tennessee at Uncle Walt and Claudia's house. That's their swimming pool. And it was right around the 4th of July, or maybe it was the 4th of July. There was a lot of people there. I can't begin to tell you who everybody was. That was Johnny, I think. That's the back of their house. That's Kathy going into the house. That's the old dog wiping his butt on the lawn. That's Mary. His mom. Here comes Mom. I'm going to take some pictures. That's the front of their house. Dixon, Tennessee. Fast forward. And that's the pool again, but they had a lot more company that day. Pretty good diver. Who? I'm pretty sure that guy with the yellow trunks on was Johnny.